For nearly 2 decades, 3 names have defined tennis greatness: Federer, Nadal, Djokovic. Between them, they've shattered records, redefined the sport, and held us in awe with their rivalries. But now, whispers of change are growing louder. Federer has retired, Nadal's injuries have sidelined him, and even Djokovic, despite his dominance, faces mounting challenges. So here's the burning question: are we witnessing the twilight of tennis dynasties? And if so, who's ready to take their place? In today's video, we'll break down the legacy of the Big Three, how they changed the game, what's led to their decline, and whether the new generation of players has what it takes to fill their shoes. We'll also dive into the future of tennis. Will we see a single player dominate again? Or is the sport heading into a new era of unpredictability? By the end of this video, you'll have a deeper understanding of why this moment is so pivotal for tennis history. Plus, we'll share insights into the rising stars who could be the next big names in the sport. If you're a true tennis fan, you won't want to miss this. To understand just how monumental this moment in tennis is, we need to go back and appreciate the sheer dominance of Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic, the Big Three. These aren't just tennis players, they're legends who rewrote the sport's history. Let's start with some mind-blowing numbers. Between them, the Big Three have won a staggering 65 Grand Slam titles. Federer, the epitome of grace with 20 titles. Nadal, the king of clay with 22 major victories, including 14 at Roland Garros. An unthinkable record. And then there's Djokovic, who smashed through barriers to claim a record-breaking 24 slams. Together, they've not just dominated, they've obliterated the competition for nearly 2 decades. But it wasn't just about winning, it was how they did it. Federer's elegant one-handed backhand, Nadal's relentless topspin and fighting spirit, Djokovic's sheer athleticism and unmatched mental toughness. They weren't just players, they were innovators who pushed each other and the entire sport to its limits. Now, what made the Big Three era truly magical? Their rivalries. Think back to the epic Federer-Nadal Wimbledon final in 2008. A match so iconic it's simply called the greatest match ever played. Or Djokovic's relentless battles with Nadal on every surface from Melbourne to Paris. Each rivalry brought something unique. Federer versus Nadal, beauty versus brawn. Nadal versus Djokovic, fire versus resilience. Djokovic versus Federer, precision versus persistence. These weren't just matches, they were cinematic dramas that kept us glued to our screens. Even non-tennis fans tuned in just to witness history in the making. But the Big Three weren't just athletes, they were global icons. Federer became the face of class and elegance with endorsements and philanthropy that transcended sports. Nadal inspired millions with his humility and relentless work ethic. And Djokovic, love him or hate him, his story of rising from adversity to become the world's best resonated with fans worldwide. Their dominance elevated tennis like never before. Ticket sales skyrocketed. Viewership hit record highs. And let's not forget the younger players who idolized them and shaped their games around their heroes. This era wasn't just great for tennis, it was transformative for the entire sporting world. But as with all great dynasties, time eventually catches up. And this brings us to a pivotal question. Are we witnessing the end of the Big Three's reign? And more importantly, can anyone step into their shoes? Even the most unshakable empires face their eventual decline, and the Big Three are no exception. The cracks in their dynasty are becoming more visible, leaving fans wondering, is this truly the beginning of the end? Let's start with Roger Federer, the man who turned tennis into an art form. His elegant backhand, his effortless movement. Watching Federer play was like witnessing poetry in motion. But even the maestro couldn't outrun Father Time. Federer's retirement in 2022 at the Laver Cup was a bittersweet moment for fans worldwide. Remember his tearful farewell alongside Rafael Nadal? 2 rivals turned brothers in arms. It was a reminder that while his greatness will live on, his days of dominating the court are now a thing of the past. Federer left an irreplaceable void. Who else could unite fans from every corner of the globe with such grace and sportsmanship? And yet, his departure signaled that this golden era was starting to dim. Then there's Rafael Nadal, the warrior who seemed almost indestructible. Whether it was his punishing forehand or his unmatched grit, Rafa wasn't just a player, he was a gladiator. But even gladiators have their limits. Nadal's career has been a story of overcoming adversity, but his body has started to fight back. Injuries to his knees, wrists, and foot have sidelined him more often in recent years. The 2023 season saw him absent from multiple tournaments, and whispers about his retirement have grown louder. Remember when Nadal won the Australian Open in 2022 after being 2 sets down against Medvedev? It felt like a miracle, a defiance of time itself. But miracles can't last forever. Fans are left asking, how much longer can Rafa fight before he's forced to bow out? And then there's Novak Djokovic, the machine-like warrior who seems almost immune to decline. At 36, Djokovic is still winning Grand Slams and setting records. He's the last man standing from this dynasty, but even he isn't without challenges. Djokovic's journey hasn't been without controversy, whether it's his stance on vaccination, heated rivalries, or his on-court antics. These moments have made him polarizing, but they've also shown his humanity. However, age is creeping up on him too. Even the fittest players can't stay at their peak forever. Despite his continued dominance, the younger generation is starting to close the gap. Alcaraz beat him in the 2023 Wimbledon final, signaling a shift. Is Djokovic's reign unshakable? Or is the writing on the wall for the last king of the Big Three? Each of these legends has faced their own battles, some against rivals, others against their own bodies. Together, their struggles have brought us to a tipping point. The Big Three era isn't over yet, but the cracks are undeniable. So, what's next? Can the new generation live up to the legacy of their predecessors, or will tennis enter a new, unpredictable era? With the Big Three stepping back, the stage is set for a new wave of tennis stars to rise. But here's the question. Do they have what it takes to carry the torch and define the next era of tennis? Let's dive in and meet the contenders. Carlos Alcaraz, the prodigy first up. Carlos Alcaraz, the young Spaniard who has been compared to a blend of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. No pressure, right? At just 20 years old, Alcaraz has already claimed 2 Grand Slam titles, including a jaw-dropping victory over Novak Djokovic in the 2023 Wimbledon final. That match wasn't just a win, it was a statement. The future is here. Alcaraz's game is electric. He combines Nadal's power, Federer's finesse, and Djokovic's mental toughness. But what sets him apart is his fearlessness. He's not afraid of the spotlight, and he thrives under pressure. The question is, can he maintain this level of excellence consistently enough to define an era? Jannik Sinner, the silent assassin. Then there's Jannik Sinner, the calm and composed Italian who lets his racket do the talking. Sinner might not have the fiery charisma of some other players, but his game is ice-cold and devastating. With his powerful ground strokes and improving net play, he's slowly but surely climbing the ranks. Sinner's performance against Djokovic in 2023, where he pushed the Serbian to 5 grueling sets, showed that he's not just a contender, he's a threat. The potential is there, but does he have the killer instinct to dominate on the biggest stages? Iga Świątek and Coco Gauff, the queens of the new era. It's not just the men's game that's seeing a generational shift. On the women's side, we have players like Iga Świątek and Coco Gauff leading the charge. Świątek has already cemented her place as a dominant force, with multiple Grand Slam titles and a game that's as strategic as it is relentless. Meanwhile, Coco Gauff captured hearts when she burst onto the scene at just 15 years old. Now, with her first Grand Slam title in the bag, she's proving that she's more than just a prodigy. She's a contender for greatness. What makes this new wave so exciting is their versatility. Unlike the Big Three, who dominated in predictable patterns, this generation is full of surprises. One week, it's Alcaraz dazzling with his creativity. The next, it's Świątek grinding out a victory with unmatched consistency. The unpredictability is thrilling, but it also raises a question. Is this lack of dominance a strength or a weakness? The Big Three's consistency created an era of legends, but this new wave might bring something entirely different. A level playing field where anyone can win on any given day. It's exciting, but it's also uncharted territory for tennis fans. The future of tennis is here, and it's as unpredictable as it is exhilarating. But can these young stars truly live up to the legacy of the Big Three? Or will the sport enter an era where greatness is shared, rather than dominated by a select few? Stick around as we explore whether tennis is ready for this seismic shift. So, here we are, at a crossroads in tennis history. The Big Three have been untouchable for nearly 2 decades, but as the dust begins to settle on their era, we're left asking, is their dominance truly over? Or is there still some magic left in their reign? Let's start with the undeniable signs that the Big Three's era is winding down. Federer's graceful exit marked the first definitive crack in the dynasty. Nadal's injuries have made his appearances on the court sporadic, leaving fans bracing for an inevitable farewell. Even Djokovic, the last man standing, has shown hints of vulnerability. Sure, he's still winning Grand Slams, but the competition is fiercer, and the gap is closing. Remember when Alcaraz defeated Djokovic at Wimbledon in 2023? It wasn't just a win, it was symbolic. It felt like the torch was being passed, even if Djokovic isn't ready to let go just yet. But let's not write them off just yet. If there's one thing the Big Three have taught us, it's to never underestimate greatness. Nadal's comebacks are the stuff of legend. Djokovic still looks nearly invincible on the biggest stages. And let's not forget that even after turning 35, Federer was still reaching the Grand Slam finals. These legends have an uncanny ability to defy the odds. Djokovic in particular seems determined to extend his dominance as long as possible. If he continues to win major titles into his late 30s, could he single-handedly prolong the era of the Big Three? Transitions like this aren't unique to tennis. Think about basketball. When Michael Jordan retired, fans wondered if the NBA would ever be the same. Then came Kobe, LeBron, and Steph Curry. Or soccer, when Messi and Ronaldo eventually step aside, the sport will face a similar reckoning. The question isn't whether greatness ends, it's how the next chapter is written. Tennis is at that same crossroads. The Big Three's dominance may be fading, but it's paving the way for a new kind of excitement, a future where unpredictability reigns. So what does all of this mean for us, the fans? For some, the end of the Big Three feels like losing a part of their childhood. For others, it's an opportunity to embrace a new era filled with fresh faces and thrilling rivalries. This transition might also mean a shift in how we watch tennis. The days of expecting the same 3 names in every final could be over, but with that comes the excitement of not knowing who will rise to the occasion. So is the dominance of the Big Three over? Maybe. But one thing is certain, their legacy will loom large over the sport for decades to come. Whether this next chapter lives up to that legacy or forges its own path is a question only time can answer. With the Big Three era coming to a close, tennis is at a pivotal moment. The question on everyone's mind is simple yet profound. What's next? Is this the dawn of a new dynasty, or will the sport take an entirely new direction? Let's explore the possibilities. Rivalries have always been the lifeblood of tennis, and the Big Three gave us some of the most unforgettable battles in sports history. But who will pick up that torch? Will Alcaraz and Sinner become the new Federer and Nadal? Could Gauff and Swiatek ignite a rivalry that defines women's tennis for years to come? The beauty of this moment is the sheer unpredictability. Unlike the dominance of the Big Three, we might be entering an era where multiple players share the spotlight, creating rivalries that are shorter but no less intense. It's a different kind of excitement, one that keeps fans guessing who will come out on top each time. One of the most intriguing possibilities is that tennis could become more competitive than ever. Without the Big Three dominating every Grand Slam, we could see a wider range of players lifting trophies. Imagine a season where the winner of the Australian Open is different from Wimbledon, the French Open, and the US Open. It's a shift that could make the sport feel more open and inclusive. But here's the flip side. Does this lack of consistent dominance risk diluting the grandeur of the sport? Some argue that legends like Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic elevated tennis to new heights precisely because of their consistency. Will the next generation be able to replicate that magic, or will tennis fans have to adjust to a new kind of greatness? Beyond the players, the future of tennis will also be shaped by innovation. From Hawkeye technology to the introduction of on-court coaching, the sport is evolving in ways we've never seen before. Could we see more radical changes like shorter formats or more interactive fan experiences? And how will these innovations impact the way we watch and engage with the sport? Technology could also play a role in leveling the playing field. Advanced training methods, data analytics, and injury prevention techniques could help younger players bridge the gap and stay competitive for longer. It's a fascinating blend of tradition and progress. At the heart of it all are the fans. Tennis has always thrived on its passionate fan base, from the roaring crowds at Wimbledon to the electric atmosphere of the US Open night matches. But as the Big Three era fades, will fans embrace this new chapter with the same enthusiasm? This is an opportunity for tennis fans to shape the sport's future. By supporting new players, celebrating diverse playing styles, and embracing the unpredictability of this transition, we can help keep tennis thriving for generations to come. What's next for tennis? The truth is, we're entering uncharted territory. But one thing is clear, the sport's evolution is far from over. Whether it's a new dynasty, a more competitive field, or innovations that redefine the game, the future of tennis is as thrilling and unpredictable as the matches themselves. So, are you ready for this new era? Let us know in the comments which players you think will rise to the top and how you see the sport evolving. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of tennis.